Welcome everyone. Today we are going to learn about active transport mediated by coupled transporter. Now at first I will talk about active transport. In my previous video I have already discussed about what is active transport. Now in this video I am just actually briefing the whole mechanism. Transport occurs due to the uphill movement of molecules. Now what is uphill movement? Uphill movement, you can simply understand that when someone actually climbs up a hill, what will happen? It requires energy, so it is actually energetically unfavorable. Now in case of molecules or ions, when transported against their chemical concentration gradient, that means lower to higher concentration, when the movement of molecules is occurring from lower to higher concentration, that is called uphill movement, and this process is thermodynamically unfavorable. That means it requires energy input. As you can see, energy is important. Another type of movement occurs in case of transport, that is called downhill movement, where molecules move from higher to lower concentrations, and that doesn't require any energy input. So in my previous video I have already discussed about this. Now let's talk about this transport, active transport by coupled transporter. So cells carry out active transport in three main ways, and these are the three main ways. What is coupled transporter, where two different molecular ions are actually transported. Another is ATP driven pump, where ATP is hydrolyzed to move the molecule from lower to higher concentration. All these cases, all these three cases, the molecules actually move from lower to higher concentration, so it is active transport, but the mechanism is different. Like this is the coupled transport. Here another molecules actually helps in this transport or active transport. In case of ATP driven pump, ATP hydrolysis helps this, and in case of light driven pump, light energy or solar energy actually helps the active transport. Now in this video I'm going to talk about coupled transporter, or the how coupled transporter helps in active transport. So you can understand this mechanism by this diagram. As you can see, the falling of this rock actually can create heat, so kinetic energy of falling rocks is transformed into heat energy only. Now you can understand these falling rocks as a downhill movement. What does it mean? Downhill movement means from higher to lower concentration. And you can also understand that when someone come down from a hill, it doesn't require energy, it feels easy. So falling off a rock is actually easy, so but it actually has a kinetic energy. Now this, if this falling of this rock is just and there is no other way, then what will happen? This actually creates a heat or generates heat. So kinetic energy of falling rocks is transformed into heat energy only when this process only occurring. But now we can actually incorporate another mechanism, that is lifting of this bucket, water bucket. Now the lifting of this bucket is actually requires energy, and where from we are getting this energy? We are getting this energy from this falling of the rocks. So part of the kinetic energy, now also there will be heat generated, but part of the kinetic energy is used to lift a bucket of water, and a correspondingly smaller amount is transformed into heat. But what will happen here? This action, the lifting of this water bucket, is actually the active transport or uphill movement, and this is the downhill movement. So what will happen in case of coupled transporters or co-transporters? One molecule will be transported in downhill movement, another will be uphill movement. That's why it is called coupled transporter. And there are two types of coupled transporter. One is called Symporter and another is called Antiporter. In case of Symporter, two molecules, or it could be one ions also, move in the same direction, and in case of Antiporter, two molecules actually move in the opposite direction. That's the difference, but the whole mechanism actually based on this actually diagram. One molecule will move actually downhill, and that downhill movement actually release energy that will be actually utilized by the movement of uphill movement of another molecule. Now this triangle actually denotes the chemical concentration gradient, and the base of the triangle represent higher concentration. So let's see what will happen for this black molecule. In case of black molecules, you can see the concentration of this molecule is high here and lower is here, because the peak of this triangle indicates the lower concentration. Now these black molecules are actually moving from lower to higher concentration. That means this is the uphill movement. But in case of red molecule, This base is actually the higher concentration indicating, and here is low. So red molecules are moving from high concentration to lower concentration. That means it is moving in the downhill movement, and this movement actually release energy that will help to move these black molecules into the same direction. That's why it is called Symporter. But in case of Antiporter, the same thing occurs also. As you can see, these red molecules actually moving higher to lower concentration. That means it is downhill movements, and this is the uphill movements, because here lower to higher concentration these molecules are moving. So direction of this chemical concentration differs in case of Symporter and Antiporter, but the mechanism will remain same. You can also understand this mechanism by this diagram also. As you can see here, the x is to y, this reaction is requires positive delta G. That means it is energetically unfavorable. But C to D reaction is a negative delta G, that shows that it is energetically favorable. So the energetically unfavorable reaction x is to y, that means this is the uphill movement, is driven by the energetically favorable reaction C to D, that means downhill movement. So basically what is happening here, the downhill movement release energy that will be utilized by the uphill movement, or to drive the uphill movement of the other molecular ions. So this is called coupled transporters or co-transporter. One example is Symporter and Antiporter. Symporter means there here two molecules will move in the same direction. Antiporter means here two molecules will move in the two opposite directions. So this is one type of active transport, that is coupled transporters mediated active transport. In my next video, I will talk about ATP driven pump mediated active transport. If you have any doubt about this topic, you can write me in the comment section. I will make a separate video on this. So hope this video will help you. Thank you for watching, and always keep learning.